Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the May meeting of Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Commission to order. Glad to see everybody here tonight. I don't think we need to worry about establishing a quorum. Michael, would you open us with a prayer?
Happy to. Bow your heads, please. Dear God, thank you so much for continuing to bless us in these lives that we live, for the departments in this room, the work that they do and carry out each day to provide the service that they do to our communities. I just pray that you keep all of our first responders safe and watch over them as they perform their duties. And thank you for everything that you've blessed us with, the families that we have that support us, the friends that we have, just everything that you do to protect us and keep us safe. In your name we pray. Amen.
Chief Yop, I believe you have an introduction
Yes.
for us tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce a new member to the organization. He's the Deputy Chief, Christiansburg EMS Agency, Josh Settling. He previously comes to us from Carillion. He's more recently worked with Radford Fire Department, Fire and Rescue, and Pulaski County. Josh.
Just pleasure to be here. Said previously at Radford, Carillion, Pulaski, did some volunteering in Giles, so I've danced around the New River Valley. Just now I get to work in it, so just a pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you, Josh. Welcome. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Public address session. Believe we have anybody. The minutes of our last meeting were sent out to you by email. Floor will entertain a motion for approval. Motion to hear a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed. Minutes are approved as emailed. Thank you, Bob. Administrative reports, Supervisor Kitts.
Oh, no reports from me. I've got backup today. So you get nothing from me. You go to people didn't.
Understood. Thank you. Zeal.
Thank you guys for all that you do as always. The board did approve their budget on April 22nd, so we're moving ahead with that. And do just want to continue to support you guys and let you know if you ever have any questions or need anything, just let us know.
Thank you. I believe we have a new gentleman here I hadn't met. If you want to.
Yes, is this your first time?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. This is
yeah.
Chris Lawrence. He's the deputy, he's the deputy county administrator, and he's gonna be, Brad St. Clair went back to the sheriff's office, so we switched some things up a little bit, and Mike was reporting to Chris, so he's glad to be here with you. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more. He came from the town of Blacksburg, but we don't hold that against him. He's one of us now.
I have been assimilated. Yeah, thank you. I've worked in local government for 25 years, twice in Blacksburg, and then I was the town manager in Benton for 7 years. And we have to keep the door open just a little bit.
You have to open the door a little bit, or it's closed.
Right. And I look forward to working with y'all. Michael's been kind of really getting me up to speed. Some of you already know, and some others I look forward to getting to know a little bit better and working with you. So, thanks.
I didn't mean to select you.
That's okay. Steve took care of it.
That's right. Thank you, Steve.
Jason, 911.
The only update I have, the county fire portables are, Derek's putting the finishing touches on the programming code plug. And so we hope to be reaching out to come to the stations here pretty soon with it. It's been a lot of talks with Roanoke County, and a lot of working together, getting some mutual aid channels with them. So that's kind of the finishing touches we're working on, is trying to get those finalized.
All right. right, tonight we have Michael Harris. Almost put a F there instead of a P.
Oh, that's okay. A lot of people can't say it. We have people in the agency that still pronounces it wrong. A lot of people put an H on the end of it. I am Michael Paris. I'm Deputy Chief of Training and Ops for Virginia Department of Fire Programs, and Mr. Gary here asked me to come and start talking about the OSHA update. Really, public comment was open through May, the first part of May, then it got extended, now it's open through the second week of June. So please review the document. It's a lot to try to digest, it's like 600 and some pages long. The National Volunteer Fire Council has been doing webinars on a pretty consistent basis about it. They seem to be similar from the beginning through where they're at now with it, trying to let the public safety know that it's out there, that it's been looked at. 1910-156 started out as it used to be the OSHA Fire Brigade standard, now it's moving towards the proposed for emergency response standard, so it's changing some of the language. And by changing some of that language, they're adopting by name some of the NFPA standards, and there's a lot in there that pertain to just 1500, for instance, is a huge standard in itself. It goes from physical fitness all the way through station design, stuff like that. So there's a lot that once you start digging into it and reading it, then you have to go pull the information from the NFPA standard as well. So it's a lot of work. Virginia Department of Fire Programs, once we got involved in looking at it, Chief Dewhurst, Matt Dewhurst, is our Chief Safety Officer. We have had a meeting and got another one scheduled pretty soon. We're going to put a group together to kind of follow this through the process. We do have a gentleman luckily that is retired from OSHA, that is already an adjunct with the state of Virginia, so he's going to help us navigate those waters as well. There's nothing set in stone yet. It's still open for public comment. Once it goes from public comment and those are closed, they'll be reviewed, and then there'll be changes and shared out. But the feeling, then the talks even from the National Volunteer Fire Council is something is going to come out of it. It's just unsure of exactly what it is at this time. And it does hit on both career and volunteer, and there's language in there for volunteers, and it's really going to be how they identify the word volunteer. What is a volunteer? And that's going to be it's still not defined exactly, from all the way across the United States, because the standard is going to be nationwide, not just locality or Virginia specific. I did just share the National Volunteer Fire Council synopsis with Michael, and he can send it out to you. It's a good overview instead of sitting there reading 600 and I think it's 2 pages unless you absolutely want to. But it is eye-opening, some of the data that they use when they do their updates. I encourage everybody to watch those and get into as many of these webinars as possible. There is no set in stone right now. The state hasn't taken a stance. Nobody's taking a stance. We're still reviewing it and looking at it as a group. But it's out there, and I would encourage you to read it and put your groups together, your lobbyists and your legislators, and get with them and share your thoughts on it moving forward. But when you read the document, there's things in there that you'll probably agree with and some you disagree with, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But they've done their homework, they've done their due diligence, and now they're putting it forth. And it does not just include the fire response, it also encompasses the EMS side as well.
sir. Any questions or comments for? We appreciate you coming.
I'm counting, sorry. Alright, I greatly appreciate being here. Is there anything else from the agency that anybody wants to discuss while I'm here? Training wise, initiatives that's been moved forward? That's a first in Montgomery.
We appreciate you coming. And
Thank you all for having me.
you're welcome to stay if you want, but if you
Alright,
need to sneak out, you can.
I'll probably sneak out here shortly, but
All right. Thank you, Michael. Moving on to old business. Pharmacy update, chief?
Yeah, not a ton of updates. I think on the 2nd of this month, the OEMS and the Board of Pharmacy and all those stakeholders met and reviewed and unanimously passed some emergency regulations, which would just update some of the Board of Pharmacy policies that impact EMS. It's not official though, basically it still has to go through legislative review and administrative stuff for the government side. They guess that'll take about 10 weeks to complete to get emergency legislation through. If it does, that's still just a temporary thing and they have to go through the normal process to update the Code of Virginia if they want that to stick. I'm a little skeptical of how useful some of the stuff that came out of that is going to be really. It seems like the biggest push was by the EMS councils to make sure that they can still be involved and help facilitate drug box exchange. But looking at the other issues that are currently going on with the Office of EMS and how that relates to the EMS councils, I think there is a very strong likelihood that there will be some pretty major restructuring and downsizing of the EMS system at the state level. I got to meet with Fitch and Associates, which is the firm that they pulled in to review that and kind of currently take control of the Office of EMS and make recommendations to the governor about how to change it. And I think everything from those meetings and anything that I've heard kind of sounds like there's probably some pretty big restructuring and changing of how that all works. So I would be skeptical to just purely sit back and rely on the EMS council to be able to handle the drug box stuff. I know they wanted that in there, so that's kind of a lifeline for them to stay needed and relevant, but at the same time, I think that's gonna be a potential challenge in the near future, so but let's see what else. The big updates from that is the existing guidance document that is out from the Board of Pharmacy for EMS agencies. They pulled that back because now it conflicts with the new emergency regulations that they're working to push through. Basically, the big change is that it could potentially allow EMS agencies within a jurisdiction to be served by a single EMS agency with a license, and same thing with the regional council. Otherwise, there's not really a whole lot. I believe they sent the documents out to all of the EMS agencies, but if you didn't get it, let me know and I'm more than happy to forward it to anyone who wants it. It's really just kind of a recap from the EMS council of what happened, and it's very focused on the most important thing being that the EMS councils can help, but that's kind of their lens for it, so. But yeah, that's about it, unless you have questions. We got to talk to some OEMS people, and it sounds like a lot of agencies kind of southwest of us are dropping back to BLS and not gonna have ALS meds, and some are just, and others are kind of folding into a county system. That seems to be kind of the biggest trend that some of the EMS reps that I've talked to are seeing from their agencies.
It's a little discouraging news, honestly. I mean, the council has actually advised us to hold on any applications for.
And you can, but I mean, I think it's just important to understand that from their standpoint, the more reliant that agencies are on utilizing them, the better their chances of survival. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're gonna, like, for Blacksburg, I can't speak for anyone else, we're gonna continue on as if nothing has changed, because it's, for one, nothing officially has changed yet, and two, I think with the other things that are going on, I would be nervous to just wait and expect this to work out.
Any questions or comments from the group on that? Thank you, Chief. Don't believe you have any other old business. Moving on to new business, update on fire staff.
Yes, I don't think we've talked about this particular issue in this group yet. In an abundance of transparency, because that's what we want to be, is transparent with all the stakeholders in this, is we want to make sure that you all continually know what's going on, so that it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone when stuff changes or new things are implemented across the county. So for the past several months, we've been working really closely with Chief Evil and with Elliston, and I give him a ton of credit for helping us through this process. But the decision was made a couple months ago to go ahead and look at putting paid staff down in Elliston during the day to provide call coverage when the volunteer response just wasn't there. So we went to the Board of Supervisors, I believe about a month and a half ago, and presented to them a proposal for paid staff in Elliston. Through the budget process, that was approved at the April 22nd meeting, and we're going back to the board on the 27th to discuss further what that's actually going to look like. So, and Chief Evil, you're more than welcome to chime in at any point, but we've been meeting with them almost every week for the past 2 or 3 months now to talk about challenges that we're going to face through all this and coming up with ways that both departments can work seamlessly together. Because the one thing that we've really been preaching between both groups is that we want it to work. We don't want it to be one-sided. We want there to be plenty of collusion between both departments so that as paid staff are implemented, it's not completely dissociating the volunteer membership that still exists down there. And again, Chief Evil's been awesome to work with. The committee that he's put together has been great to work with. And it hasn't been really butting heads as much as it's been coming up with ideas and ways to make it work. So what we're planning on doing right now is operating on the sheriff's office schedule. So we'll have 2 shifts made up of 6 individuals. There'll be a captain and a lieutenant and 4 firefighters on each shift. And they'll work 5 days one week and 2 days the next, exactly the same way that the sheriff's office does. And the way it'll work is we'll staff 2 trucks down there so that during the day you have an engine and squad, tanker, whatever the call type is, you'll base the response off of. But the captain will be the overall kind of station leader, and the lieutenant will be responsible for whatever truck that they're assigned to. So we're again working really closely with Elliston to make sure that as this kind of rolls out, that the volunteers still have a big voice in the way that that this is implemented, because again, we want it to be as good as it can be. There are plenty of examples out there if you look of systems that it works really well in, and plenty of examples where it didn't work at all. And we're trying to find, I don't think there's a perfect way to do it, but I think there are better ways than others to do it. But it's a big change like anything else that we've been doing for the past few years. It's gonna have implications much further than just in Elliston. And we wanna make sure that everyone in this group, because it impacts the whole county, whether it's just Elliston or not. And we wanna hear feedback, we want your opinions, comments, concerns. And we just want this to be done the right way from the beginning. We've started working kind of internally on developing some policies and procedures, and we actually got a contract signed earlier this week with Lexipol to help us start developing more SOPs and SOGs that are based on NFPA standards and OSHA standards. That way, as this kind of rolls out, we're not sending people out there blindly with no kind of guidance on what they need to be doing. And we're working again with Elliston to see where those SOPs work for them or ones that don't, and kind of flush that out so that the two departments can work together. But I just wanted to kind of throw it out there tonight as more of like a general discussion point to see if you all had any feedback tonight. But again, we're trying to be as transparent as we can be. We don't want there to be any surprises. I know in the past that's kind of been one of the items of feedback that we've gotten is, why didn't we know about this? Why is this coming down to us now? And we want it to be as out there and as forward as we can be. So if you guys have anything, we're open to hear it now.
Floor is open for discussion, questions, comments. What does that organizational structure look like? Do they fall under the McPhims? So Tyler, Brandon, and you are is Chief Evil on the paid crew report to him as well as?
Unknown at this time.
They're more detailed, the more intricate details are still working out with their steering committee. I can send you all a copy of the org chart, the proposed org chart and the way that it kind of looks right now. All of the staff will fall under the department since it's a county department and they'll be county employees, but we still haven't completely figured out the way that the structure will work together.
As it stands, we have no representation with McPhillips, no formal representation. In other words, I don't know what I'm going to do.
The meeting's actually May 28th, that the board meeting, because of Memorial Days on Monday. But I would welcome anybody who wants to come and hear what is presented to the board. Like Michael said, we've got proposals and we have plans and are working through those things, but we're still gonna present to them again, to make sure everybody's on the same page before we move forward any further. But they did, and I guess Derek can speak to that a little bit, they recognize the need for this and appreciate Chief Evil's support of it. I know it's a difficult pill to swallow, and we appreciate that you had worked with us to talk about how to make this situation as good as it can be, like Michael said. And I appreciate Michael. I think he reached out to you guys as that was beginning to be talked about, I think, before it went to about the time it was going to the board. So if you do have any comments you'd like to share or anything like that, we'd like to hear from you.
Now's the time, guys, because I've talked to a couple of y'all offline. This is important. Service is the biggest thing for me. You know it is. And I know community is the biggest thing for you guys too. So we want to make sure that you're taken care of and represented when you do this. Once you've got to have input. If you don't, you've got to be able to sit down, and I know sometimes you don't want to sit here and talk and discuss stuff open. You want to do it separately, that's fine, but it still needs to be talked about because your point of view is insanely important to this. Because we can't move forward as an organization overall unless we have your input. And if you don't say anything or you go back and say, well, this, dude, it's an idea. It's nothing, this is completely malleable. The plan that's been put out is been presented. It's the first draft. Y'all know how that is. All plans are great till the first shot's fired. So input. Get your ideas out there, figure out what you want to do, figure out what works. There's a lot of great examples out there. There's other ones that didn't work as well because we don't want any friction. Because at the end of the day, and I think y'all all agree, it's about serving the community and the communities you live in. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. We want to make sure that everybody's represented at the table and nobody feels that their point of view wasn't valued. So please, don't hold back. I'm the last person. I don't have a filter. She's here. She kind of holds me back. So do it, man. Speak. Because if we don't, any idea that's not thrown out there can't be entertained.
Yeah, and I'd offer that if you would like to hear my unabridged version of this little event, then contact me. I'm more than willing to share what the experiences I've found working with the county as well as working within our department. Because the challenges are not what you expect. They come from very strange corners of the world.
Michael, do you know the differences of what it would be like with the volunteer and the paid staff side? Like what would be the differences between the two? Like he said, he's not gonna be able to control what's on the paid staff, but he still would be in control of the volunteer staff. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's probably at the end of the day exactly what it's gonna look like. The thing we're still trying to figure out, we've talked to other counties about this and how that dynamic kind of works is, you know, if we have a set of standards from our department and you have to have fire 1, fire 2, hazmat, whatever the case may be, how does that impact the other organization that's responding to the same call? If we set that standard really high for one group and leave it really low for the other, like you're setting yourself up, it's a risk you're taking. And the other localities we've talked to have kind of said, you know, if you have no training whatsoever, you're still welcome to volunteer. Like you can come to the calls, you can respond to the scenes, but when you get there, you're very limited in what you can do. Whereas in Roanoke County particularly is one that we've talked to because they still have a volunteer system, is that as long as you're trained to fire 1 and hazmat, you can do anything that a career personnel can do. And beyond just fighting fire, you can get checked off on the ladder truck and on the engines. So you still have to follow some of what they do to a degree, but they don't have the same expectations from a training standpoint that between career and volunteers. So that's something that's still very open for discussion, I think, of figuring out what that looks like. Because like it's a little bit odd that operations during the day are going to run one way and then operations the second half of the day will be completely different. And it's those like the little things that we're trying to work through now because we do still have time to figure it out. That's what we've talked about. If everything went perfect right now, which you all know how that works, we probably wouldn't see any paid staff until September 1st at the earliest. And that's if everything goes really well. So we have at least a few months to really sit down and discuss the details of how does each group work together on this particular call type, or when this happens, what do we do? We can't play all the what if scenarios out, but we can at least discuss a lot of them and try and flesh out what it's going to look like. Because we want it to be successful. I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing the citizens of the county a disservice if the two groups can't work together, because the more that the two can work together, the more response you get, the higher level of quality that the citizen receives on the other end. So I wish it would be perfect, it probably won't be. There'll be flaws like with anything that we do, but the more we can work together and collaborate, the better it'll be on the other end of it. So,
one of the things you didn't talk about, and he'll put it out, we talked about at the last meeting that he put it out, is a directorate of training. Something where things can be standardized. We can have this, go ahead and talk about that. That's something I know you proposed, and I think it's a good idea in order to get everybody on the same sheet of music.
I think I've talked to the fire chiefs about this one because it impacts the fire departments more than it's going to impact the EMS agencies. But one of the positions that was proposed was essentially a chief training position that would be responsible on our end, making sure that our people are trained and up to date and all the certifications are maintained and recorded. And on the volunteer side, going out and teaching classes regularly, that way that each department has the ability to send a volunteer. If you get somebody in May, right now potentially be waiting a year or two to get them in a class. And what this position could potentially do is, all right, you get your member in May, hey, in July, we're starting Fire One. That way you can start rolling people in so that the volunteers you do have are effectively trained and can go out and respond to calls, and not have to wait however long it takes to get classes. So I think that could be very beneficial to the departments. That way, and as an incentive too, if you have new folks coming in, hey, within the first 2 years, you're gonna get Fire One, Fire Two, Hazmat, your EMT. You can go and apply for a job, maybe here, but Roanoke County, Roanoke City, Salem, bigger departments that, you set them up for a job in the future, and you say, give me 2 years as a volunteer, which these days and times, 2 years, if you can get it, that's great. But trying to find those ways that we can attract more people in or keep the people that we already have, I think is gonna be huge, and I think training is a big piece of that.
If we had a training officer like that, would that be beneficial to the volunteers?
I think it's how you utilize it. It's definitely gonna be a lot more for the paid staff, because that's what you're implementing now. But it will help definitely with fire programs also having it in our county.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll help. I don't think it's gonna hurt. I think one of the questions that somebody asked me was, as long as they have Fire One and Hazmat, that if they have a call during the day, that you would still be able to utilize the volunteer side if they are able to come to the station. Is that true, or is that, we haven't figured that out yet?
It's not 100% figured out, but looking at other places, it sounds like that's the status quo. And particularly in Elliston, what we've talked about, in having 6 people, it is a lot. And the reason behind it is because Elliston is 30 or 40 minutes away from their closest help. You get a structure fire down there, it would take Christiansburg 20, 25 minutes to get there. If Roanoke County's coming, as long as they're not out on another call, it'll take them 20 or 25 minutes. They're on an island down there, and from my standpoint, I wouldn't want to put staff in a position that they could go get hurt or get killed because their help is too far away. So from that standpoint, I want to do what's best for our people and make sure that they're set up, that they're operating in a safe environment where there's risk, but it's more controlled risk, if that makes sense.
And the board did support that as well, supported having 6 people be there to make sure that there were enough, because it is because of the geographical area and how much territory it covers and that kind of thing, how far away it is from the other agencies.
Well, I think to your point that if we do have the director of training, if they're all trained on the same stuff and you have the ability, I think it's ability to integrate. We talked about it from an insurance standpoint and there was no issues that we knew of at that time. Again, this is virgin territory for us, but we tried to look at this and go, all right, is it insurance? Is it a certification? Is it a training? You train side by side with somebody for the longest time, you get used to what they do. You know how they think. You know how they move. Again, my background's a little more different, but it's all on teamwork. So I think it's insanely important that we get the director of training going, because it allows the volunteers at that station to be able to train and to be able to augment the full-time staff. The staff's there in order to cover everything right there. But like we ran into in Elliston is during the day, everybody works. Everybody's gotta work. Everybody works and it's a long way. So I think to your point, I think it's one of those things we're gonna have to look at and look at what other departments are doing, because again, I think Bodyton does it. We've got to cover it, because you want more people than less. You don't want to sit here, you want as many people as you get there that you can function as a cohesive unit. And that's gonna be probably the biggest challenge, is because when we say our people, it's the county. Volunteer, full, it doesn't matter, career, it's still us. And I think the integration and the ability to work side by side to augment, I think is super important as we move forward, because we've got to be able to do this. I mean, it's something we have to do. It's not an optional thing. It's something we have to, and we have to make it work. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. I've sat and talked with Todd King extensively, and I want to make sure that, and he knows that, as integrated as possible. And so if a volunteer's in there and he's working with career, there's no step left behind, and it's seamless.
So I have a question on the training officers, since we're in that direction. certainly with my crew, most of them are working Monday through Fridays, and some are working strange shifts and they're on call all the time. How will the county address that? Certainly the best window opportunity is gonna be Saturday for the biggest part of my people. Will the training officer be able to adjust and be flexible for that? Is that built in?
That's what we've talked about. The position itself is gonna be exempt, so it's a 40-hour-a-week position, but as long as they can make the schedule work to where they're working 40 hours a week, doesn't matter what the hours are, as long as the 40's getting met. Cause the other nice thing from BDFP now too is a lot of your Fire 1 hazmat, Fire 2 is online. So you can accomplish a lot of the class without actually having to show up to a physical location to get it done,
Yes.
which helps a lot.
Yes. So I've been pushing my guys to continue as normal, to, keep the boat moving. I actually have guys taking fire inspector classes. I have one guy taking DPO, driver pump operator, which I was very supportive of because it would be easy just to say forget it. As I told you in the meeting months ago, I said plan all your scenarios, plan them out. Just add another column on a spreadsheet, put in your numbers, see where you are. As it stands right now, I have many of the, not all, clearly not all members are in support. Big chunk are, not everybody.
Chief Avery, what percentage of your calls are interstate?
Roughly 25. And it can vary. If we have a bad run of football traffic on a couple weekends, it can blow my numbers all to pieces. It was at a point about 38%.
Can we recoup costs from interstate calls?
I don't know.
We're saying we're serving the citizens of Montgomery County, but
No, it's anybody who crosses in.
anybody that's, the interstate
We've made some efforts
customers
to,
may not be Montgomery County citizens.
oh yeah, and we've made some efforts to recover the cost of Speedy Dry, which we're gonna hit on in a second. And sometimes the record companies will, find 10, 20 bags that we've used. And then they bill back to the insurance company. However, that's an inconsistent event. I rarely see Speedy Dry coming in from record companies.
Are the tractor trailer companies able to be a little different than like just our own personal vehicle insurance?
So, yes, I would say there's some difference because I'm on the commercial side, and especially if a trailer's involved, the state troopers will start a whole recovery program called trips and all that. So that may help, but I think when it comes down to it, the record guys they've been out there for quite a long time, they're done with it. And that's probably the last thing on their mind is to get the fire department 10 bags of Speedy Dry.
Just so you know, I know Pulaski County talked to Senator Hackworth. We talked to him when we went down the last time during legislative session. Pulaski County's pushed forward to ask the state to augment for interstate accidents and things like that. And it's something we've talked about that we're gonna go the next time and propose for as much traffic, and he's been really keeping track of it. So when we go forward, we can go, hey, this is how much our departments are doing. We need some help with this in order to adjust and offset that. So I know it's been proposed, it just hasn't been pushed forward yet. Want to see where Pulaski went with theirs in the budget process this time. And I haven't had a chance to check since they signed the budget and where it went.
As a reminder, all the construction that's going on about the 137, it's coming our way in about 4 or 5 years, I believe. So we're seeing that tidal wave is coming back, so we'll be past 38%.
Any other comments?
I think one thing I would encourage you to kind of think about is, everything we talked about here seems to be, if we get, because what'd you say, there was 17 approved? How many positions?
It's 13 full-time positions and 4 part-time positions.
Just like the what if we don't get applicants for all those positions, cause I mean, I don't know what Roanoke County's and cities graduating class was, but it wasn't more than 30.
Not very, they're
So-
advertising all the time.
So I mean, I would kind of have my encouragement would be to have a contingency plan. Well, what if we don't get all those positions filled? What does this look like now?
That's a really good point. I'll send you guys all the information that we have so far, from organizational chart to job description, just so you can see them and what they are. 'Cause they'll be out there to the public at some point within the next probably few weeks, but
Tuesday,
Drafts on Tuesday, right, at the
after we do the board.
28th, yeah.
like Derek was saying, now is the best time to talk about it. If you have feedback, if you have concerns, this is the room to do it in, because we're all here. And the feedback couldn't be more valuable, because we can still adjust and figure things out.
So as far as volunteers being able to help out during the day, if you just got 6 people going to a structure fire, they're gonna give out pretty quick.
Oh,
You get
somebody
big.
told somebody.
You're gonna need more than those 6 people there. Obviously mutual aid's coming. It's gonna be a little while before it gets there.
And that's one of the
Okay.
things that we talked about a little bit, is like mutual aid's gonna come, there are gonna be all kinds of people just like you respond now. And, you know, that's gonna have to keep happening.
I mean, if you're somewhere that doesn't have a hydrant, you need a tanker, somebody can go to the station, you get a tanker.
That's why I'm a big believer in the tanker task force. I just
And
think that's so.
Just me throwing it out, I mean, if they have EVOC and they have basic pump and they can operate that tanker, they can probably drive the tanker and bring you water. They might not be the ones that are going inside, but you're gonna need water and you're gonna need more people to get stuff done.
Well, that doesn't even touch a brush fire of any size. Anything more than about an acre gets a little bit exciting.
Yeah, the biggest thing is this isn't a change of like what's gonna happen, it's an augmentation. It's not a stop of this and a start of this, it's an augmentation and an integration. And you're right, we've gotta have everybody on, all hands on deck no matter what. This just gives them the opportunity to a little bit of pressure off of them during the day, but still allows everybody to be able to integrate and roll, because it's gonna take it.
Those are some of the very first questions I asked back in February when we met the very first time. I said, what is your purpose? Are you here to augment, or are you here to replace? The message I'm getting is augment, which is what, in, I guess, the worst case, best case scenario, this is what we're wanting to hear. But I will tell you, as you can imagine, the biggest part of my crew are unhappy. We've been doing this since 1957, and my comment back is, it is not 1957 anymore. It would be very interesting to see a census from 1957, see the count for that 92 square miles versus today. And we certainly know that the volume on 81 has increased. So can't be blind to that, and you have a state mandate, right, to provide this. So that's where we are. Now, it gets down to the nitty-gritty, and that's where the members are going to be scrutinizing carefully. I don't think it would take much to reduce our numbers.
You were talking about looking at Roanoke County as a model. I think Roanoke County routinely staffs 6 per station, but two of those are on a medic truck, or your medic truck is going to have turnout gear with personnel to be able to help to
We
T.
haven't really
Smith's
gotten
point.
that far yet to decide how that's all gonna work. We talked about it a little bit, but we don't really have the whole plan of that.
Meaning this is nebulous in the beginning. This is very nebulous in the beginning. This is when you get involved and go, hey, did y'all think about this? And people are gonna go, oh, no, I didn't. We are just moving the ball down right now, and that's about it. it's not even, I mean, what's it, a year, 2 years off before 1
A
year?
little over
year
2,
and a half?
yeah.
From EMS.
Yeah, I mean, just from the fire side, it's 2, right?
What do you mean?
Up till implementation.
Oh, no, it's gonna well, their goal last he said was September. I have
Yeah.
mine
6
in
months.
here.
6 months?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
My
We
opinion.
This fall.
put what's in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may. That's, Michael and I've talked to your point exactly. We're gonna do everything the best way we can, but if you only have 4 people, A, what do you do with the 4? Should we be running calls with 4 people? And B, if the answer is no, what do you do with 4 people? Because they're on the payroll, and they gotta do something. So we have to make sure we got all this figured out. I think one big thing too, that I understand we got the paid staff going into Elliston, but we need to look into the retention side too of the volunteers. I know that's kind of fell off in the past couple of years, but the biggest thing also is you still have a pile of volunteers that wanna be there. So to save taxpayers' dollars, a retention program in this county would definitely improve the situation. I don't know exactly what that would entail, but not always put it on the taxpayer. I mean, that's a service that they are earned. But we need to come up with some type of retention plan through this county to help our situation. And it could be paid per call, it could be something like that. But if you're saving money and you're not taking it out of taxpayers' dollars, it's benefiting all of us, because we're all taxpayers in this county. So it's something that we should probably look at into with the paid staff coming in, because it's, as we can tell, Elliston is in need of it. But we also need to make sure that we're covering every other department throughout the county.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we need to discuss and kind of push towards is helping each individual department on top of that.
I know there was discussion about a retention policy, or a program, not a policy, but a program a few years ago, not too many years ago. And it like.
Kind of went on the wayside.
Yeah.
I think the towns may have been an issue in between on how we've done things. But I know there's different factors and ways we can kind of look at it. Not only deal with how you deal with the towns and our county, but most of the time, your people are running county calls too. So
Yeah,
so if we can just justify it for our county side and let the towns do what they need to do, I think it would benefit us as a whole. So I don't know what that would entail, but I know we've done the process. What could we do to enhance it? And I know the junior program, that's something that we're gonna be talking about too, which do we roll a program out with Montgomery County School
Right.
Board. These are things that we can get volunteers once they get out of high school, if that's the job that they wanna take. I know that's a big ask, but that's something that the fire programs could probably help us out. We could start this statewide. It's not just our county. I mean, if that's something that we wanna look at, it would improve our whole state, not just the county, so.
and we do need to think of those things outside the box, you know, and
Yeah.
figure out what we can do to make it
But it
better.
would help our entire community,
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
just a thought. I don't think that's something that we should forget, that we
Yeah.
have the volunteers, we also are getting paid staff, but let's keep what we have and make it better for them too.
Yeah,
And that's come up with the school superintendent and the school board, looking at, having, right now they have cybersecurity, nursing, and there's several direct job related things coming right out of high school. And is there an EMT program, which is what they're looking into, and then certainly is there a fire program? They're very receptive to that so far.
If we're paying for a person that's gonna be a trainer, this would implement a
Yeah.
massive thing in our county. I mean, we could use this to benefit everything.
We did look into that one. It's a little bit weird from the fire side because you have to be a certified instructor through the schools to be able to go in and teach. Like you'd have to be an employee of NRCC essentially to be able to go into the schools to teach classes. That was one of the hiccups we found with that, but I agree with your point completely.
and there
Could do
might be a
something
way to
greasy.
do that.
Could look into something that helps.
There's several programs across the Commonwealth in the school system. Some of them are supplemented by by the departments, some of them are standalone programs by the school. There's several programs out there, you would just have to pick which one is yours, but like you're saying, they have to go through the process. And they can teach on a provisional license, there's several things they can do, especially in the VOTEC or the CTE side of the house. So there is several programs that you can look at across the Commonwealth. Fairfax County runs a phenomenal high school program where they bus the students to the training center, and that is Jerome runs that program, and he is currently a member of the fire board, and I can get you in touch with him too, Michael. But there's several programs. Louisa runs one. There's several in the Division 5 area. So yeah, there's several of those programs out there, along with there's localities that's already doing the EMS programs as well. You just have to pick what works for you all, but be mindful when you're talking about a training person. Mr. Gary said that they're 40 hours. You're going to see quickly that those 40 hours are eat up, not just on the career side, but the volunteer with just trying to meet the fire classes. In the school system, it's a whole different world because you're structured in your own block schedules and flip-flop schedules and so forth. And that's the reason I encourage you to look at several different programs. I know there is augmented start times for the fire classes so that the days that school is 2 hours late, you're still meeting the standard for the fire classes to continue on, and they go later in the afternoon. So just look at what you need, but that would probably roll into more than just one training individual. They're going to be busy.
I mean, with as much money as we give to the school in our county, I don't see why they couldn't help us out. I mean,
I
our
think
tax
they're willing
dollars-
to help, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
really
mean-
do think they're willing to help.
Yeah, he was really receptive to it. You gotta think it's gonna fall kinda like the ROTC program they do. That's how it's gonna play out, and he was really receptive to it. Cause that was brought up, last week.
Yeah,
I know that's something we've looked at on our end, is how do we get more involved into the schools? Because we sit right in front of the schools. How we get, and EMT class was one of them that got brought up. Trying to figure out how to get that.
And in our VCC, community college, let's say that, can't even get it out. I talked to them today and they were like, yeah, we had 15 EMT scholarship type classes go and it was 0. It was 0 for 15. Cause I was asking about, I was like, what can we do to help our departments augment EMT, EMS, and fire? And he goes, well, we just went 0 for 15 for EMT certification stuff. And I was like,
For
okay,
free.
for free.
For free, yeah, they're not paying. Well, it's something our county can promote.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, maybe we can do that as.
We have a website, we can hammer it down on that. There's multiple ways to reach out to the community, and there's a pile of people that live in the county. And I think that if they don't have to move away, they can stay here.
Yeah.
And their kids can succeed in what they need to.
Just launched a very user-friendly new website today.
that's right.
We're bringing more people on to do that. That's why, that's a big thing for her. It's a point of emphasis is to make the website more interactive, to make it more responsive, to give us the opportunity to promote things like that. It actually I think it launched today as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
it did launch today.
So, 100%.
Whatever we can do to better our county, I think we'll at least try.
Thanks, Zach.
Kind of jumping back a little bit too, to give you guys some context, we're not just looking at Roanoke County, I promise. I know Roanoke County's not perfect. We've looked at City of Radford, Roanoke, Botetourt, Henry, Franklin, Pittsylvania, Augusta, Rockingham, and I think there's one more. So we're trying to find a bunch of different localities that are similar to us, and they still have volunteers and they have career staff. And I can assure you by talking to all of them, it looks different in every single locality, but they find ways to make it work. There's some that I think are better than others. I won't name names, but they're good examples out there that we can look at, maybe not mirror exactly, but that still are very inclusive to both groups of volunteers and career staff. So
I think from my point of view, as long as we can keep everybody, as long as the information is relayed, I think that's one of the issues we've had in the past, is not all the information is relayed, it's supposed to be. I think that'll be a key part. You know, I know, since I've been back, you know, we've had conversations with Michael and Brandon, and, you know, we've kind of adjusted a few things, and it seems to be doing pretty good so far.
Good.
You can encourage your folks to call me. If people have questions, it's like, I really don't mind answering questions, especially if you have folks within your department that really don't understand what's going on. You know, you see this stuff on Facebook all the time about, well, look what the county's doing, this, that, and the other, and it's like, if somebody had just explained to them what it actually was, they probably wouldn't be upset about it. But you know, I can't reach out to people if I don't know that they're upset about it.
Come on down.
Anything else? New Helston Fire Station. Moving on to the VFIS new insurance requirement.
Yeah, so we got this today, so I don't have a whole lot of information to provide you guys, but VFIS is gonna be requiring some new, looks like SOPs and SOGs from departments that have junior programs. I'm not sure if it impacts EMS, I'm gonna get an answer for that. But just something to keep in mind. I know Chief Hanks in Christiansburg had one of the VFIS insurance adjusters come in a few weeks ago just to look at their department and give them ideas for improvements so that they could reduce liability and potentially insurance costs. So that's an option too. If you guys want us to set that up for your department, we'd be happy to. But I'll work on getting you guys some more information for this. It looks like we have a year to kind of figure it out. But just another thing that's out there now.
Stay dry order, Chief E.
So with our proximity to not only 460 but 81, we roll through Speedy Dry, as I alluded to earlier. And we have found a short-term vendor. Gave us a very good price, but only on 30 bags. Well, we can blow through that in one night. So I was wanting to know if the commission wanted to consider purchasing a trailer, which would be 20 pallets. Speedy Dry. The challenge, of course, is where to put it. So I'm just throwing that out just for my knowledge. The trailer of 10, which whatever, you know.
I know we've talked about orders like that before. Probably part of a bigger conversation is there's a lot of bulk stuff like that we order that we've kind of jumped back and forth in the past. Sometimes the departments order it, sometimes there's a bulk order that the county does. But Stay Dry is a big one. Flares was the most recent one that we did. Foam's another one. But if you guys have bulk purchases that you think would reduce costs that would benefit all the departments, we're all ears to hearing what ideas you have. It's like Stay Dry, it's one of those resources that currently we can't recoup money from the insurance companies, and we burn through it like nobody's business. And there is potential that we can do that in the future, but in the meantime, what can we do to save all the departments money and make those bigger purchases?
I used to order from Oil Dry, which is the manufacturer of Speedy Dry. I used to order trailers of a different product. So I mean, I can reach out to them and see where they're at, what they're doing, and it's likely that somebody in the state or this region has exclusivity on it, but it never hurts to go fish.
Yeah, and there are contracts out there too that we can look at buying off of that we can find at a reduced cost. But we have to have a large enough order to reduce the price, so just something to think about.
Christiansburg, a couple of years ago, we were using so much on 81 that and we had never done this before, Chief started billing the insurance company for a hazmat call. Of course, you have to have someone to get all of your numbers together and send it to the insurance company, and we've been really lucky. We've had a whole pallet delivered at the station on a tractor trailer, so you don't really have to do anything with it except get it off, and most trucks have those trailer doors that come down and lay it on the ground. So that's an option. We don't do it on every call, just something where we use an excess. We've used in the last, some accidents we've used 2 pallets. That's about 80 bags full, and you can use it in a hurry on 81. So that's one way you might be able to get your stuff back.
We'll do some more digging for you.
I'll poke around too.
Well, no, we can all get together and figure out if we need to stay dry, and just go ahead and order some pallets for each department, however many we need, like we've done in the past. If we can find a better price somewhere else. Find the best price, just go ahead and order a couple pallets and get them portioned out to whoever orders one.
Yeah.
Any other new business? Discipline reports. Brandon, you
We do have a couple of paramedic positions posted right now. Those aren't, it's not part of the positions that were just approved for fire or anything like that. We're just got a couple of folks that are leaving, so we've got one full-time and a couple of part-time positions open, if you know anybody that might be interested in those. Other than that, we're just chugging along.
thank you. Chief Ingles? Chief Smith?
The only thing we've got a aerial operator and a fire officer 2 class starting in June and July. If anybody's interested, they're open to anybody with a 121 FTID number. They're on Cornerstone if you know anybody's interested.
Chief Seven?
Nothing for me.
Chief Yaw?
Yes, sir. We would like to thank everyone on the brush fire we had down in, can't even think now. Sugar Grove, right. I've been in the service a good long while, and that's probably one of the largest fires and more dangerous fires that people in the county has had to help fight. And everyone did an excellent job. They were there about 10 or 11 hours. And thank everyone for the help.
Junior Jack?
I will be out of town during the work week for the next couple months. I'm going to be working for the Navy up in Northern Virginia. So somebody will be filling in for me for the next 2 months or so when I'm here. But you all can email me or give me a call if you have anything.
Sir? Chief Ingles? Chief?
We had our open house / I guess Kids Day on the 27th, which was a good success. We had probably all together throughout the whole day. We probably had 120 people come through. Kids loved it. They had a blast. So been suggested we do that every year. So we're going to look into that. I'll be attending Rescue College in June to get my VAVRS ELOC instructor. So that is a resource to get ELOC certified. Other than that, that's it.
Chief?
So this past, actually it was 2 weekends ago. We had our spring class that we're gonna try to do annually. We had basic pump operator and an EVOC class. Both of those filled up. I think we only had 2 spots that were open, one in EVOC and one in basic pump, which was great. I believe Blacksburg and a few other departments came out for that, which was awesome. We're gonna try to do this every spring. We may have to move it up a little bit further to try to get the type of class we want. Next year, we're gonna try to put 2 more classes on, so I'll let everybody know and I'll send out an email, probably the beginning of next year. Everybody heads up, we're gonna try to do it. That's all I got.
From Long Shop Rescue, we completed our annual, or every 2-year inspection today, and I told Mike if PJ shut us down, I wouldn't be here tonight, so I guess we passed, so I'm here, so. He's a really nice guy, but it is a little stressful for the inspection, so. No update on our new ambulance. It's been ordered for 2 years now, so it was supposed to be like a 600-day delivery date, but I don't really have an update on that right now. Michael?
The only thing I have is that new website. If you guys wanna get on there and check out and make sure the links for each one of your departments work, we've already found a couple issues, but if you guys have any feedback on it, let us know. Other than that, I've talked enough tonight, so.
Anything else needs to come before the commission tonight? Next meeting, June 20th. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Chief.